This is the 2024 Isuzu D-Max, a vehicle with huge expectations on its shoulders. Remember, in Australia last year, the D-Max was the third best-selling vehicle across the country, finishing only behind the Ranger and the HiLux, all of which means this new one is pretty bloody important. So Isuzu's given it new safety, new tech, a bold new look, even a new permanent trim level. So let's go see how all of that measures up.
Now, ute Rangers being the insanely complex webs that they are, you'll be unsurprised to hear there are lots of options here. In fact, there are some 25 combinations spanning 6 grades, 2 engines, 2 gearboxes, a choice of 2 or 4-wheel drive, and 4 body styles. The price range is pretty vast too, now starting at $32,700 for the SX single cab chassis with a 1.9 litre turbo diesel and 2-wheel drive, and climbing to $70,500, that's MSRP, for the X-Train crew cab with a 3 litre turbo diesel and 4-wheel drive. Now, to keep this something at least approaching brief, we're going to focus on the crew cab ute, which is yours in SX, LSU, LSU Plus, LSM, X-Rider and X-Terrain guises, but we're also going to post a full price list on the screen so you can choose your own adventure. The SX range is now $500 more expensive across the board, and it starts at $42,700 with a 1.9 litre engine and 2-wheel drive, or $50,700 for 4-wheel drive. If you want the bigger 3 litre engine, it's $44,700 for the 2-wheel drive, or $52,700 for the 4x4. Then it's the LSU, which is big engine only and is $54,500 for the 4x2 and $62,500 for the 4x4, both of which are up by $1,500. There's also a LSU Plus, which is $66,500 in 4x4. Next is the LSM, which is $55,800, up $500, before the new grade of X-Rider jumps in at $59,500. Now, both of those are 4-wheel drive only and feature only the big engine. And finally, there's the flagship X-Train, which is big engine only and 4x4 as standard, which is $70,500. That's up a sizable $3,000, but it's also just $67,990 drive away, at least for now. The entry-level SX gets a vinyl floor, cloth seats, powered windows and mirrors, and air conditioning with rear vents, while tech is handled by a new 8-inch central touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, pairing with 4 speakers, while an also new 4.2-inch screen sits in the driver's binnacle. You'll also get 17-inch steel wheels and automatic wipers, but halogen headlights. Stepping up to the LSM trim gets you new and softer rear suspension, a higher grade cloth interior treatment, bi-LED headlights and DRLs, 17-inch alloy wheels, and body-coloured mirrors, door handles, and a tailgate handle. If you can spring for this trim, it does feel like the sweet spot of the lower range models. Next is the X-Rider, which once was a special edition but now rejoins as a permanent member of the family. And it's all about upping the street cred. So there's black gloss on the grille and a black underbody spoiler, as well as on the mirrors, door handles and tailgate handle, the B-pillars and the sports bar, and on the soft tray cover. There's also black 17-inch alloy wheels and dark grey side steps. Next up is the LSU, which ups the cabin tech with the new 9-inch central screen, but with tactile dials for volume, fixing what was apparently a big complaint about the outgoing D-Max, as well as a new 7-inch driver display. There's also keyless entry and push-button start, including a new welcome light that illuminates the interior when you approach. There's dual-zone climate control and a much nicer interior treatment. Outside, there's a tub liner, silver side steps, chrome on the handles and mirrors, and 18-inch alloys. Finally, the flagship X-Train gets red stitching across its leather interior, remote engine start, a black cover for the tray, a unique sport bar, dark grey side step, mirrors, handles and roof rails, and 18-inch matte grey alloy wheels.
Now, there are some pretty big design changes for this new D-Max, but how many of them you get depends, of course, on which of the 6 trim levels you're shopping for. We are at the upper end of the market at the moment, so this one gets, well, all of them. And that starts with the new bi-LED headlights and LED DRLs. There's a new look front end with a new look grille. Come around with me to the side, you'll find new 18-inch black alloys. Now, this is a road-focused vehicle, so it gets road-focused tyres, while others get all-terrain tyres that are supposed to be a little bit more rugged. Join me around at the back here. And much like the front, there's been some kind of wholesale changes here at the rear, starting with new LED rear light clusters and just a kind of newer, tougher look vehicle wide. Now, it doesn't look a million miles away from the current generation D-Max, of course, but there have been some important freshening up changes that make it feel a bit more modern, and that is also true in the cabin. So let's go take a look.
Now, Isuzu has taken to calling the D-Max one of Australia's most capable utes right out of the box. That includes up to 240mm in ground clearance, 800mm in wading depth, and a towing maximum of 3.5 tonnes for the bigger diesel engine, dropping to 3 tonnes when you had the smaller power plant fitted. Payload is up to 1,405 kilograms too, but to get that, you need the SX with the cab chassis. It's more like 1,045 kilograms for the dual cab ute. Also new for this update is the addition of rough terrain mode, a technology borrowed from the MUX and then improved to pair with the D-Max's mechanical off-road features. In short, the tech taps into the traction control system to detect wheel slip and can then brake individual wheels and send torque to where it's needed to smooth your progress. And in the D-Max, it works with the rear diff lock too.
So Isuzu has taken to describing the cabin here as a mixture between utility and creature comforts, and I'd say that's a fairly accurate description, but there have been some fairly big changes, key among them being this new big central screen that gets wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, twin USB-C connection points, and really has all that functionality that you need, including manual dials for the volume and tuning. There's also a new and bigger central screen in front of the driver, although there's still analog dials on either side. But I got to say the graphics on it are a little bit old school and feel a bit Atari-ish if I'm being perfectly honest, but it does work well and gives you what you need to know. Now that mixture between utility and creature comforts we mentioned, again, it's certainly true. For example, there's this nice use of soft touch materials in the top spec models, but they're not exactly where you would need them to be. I don't know about you, but I often drive with my elbow sitting up here. That still sits on hard plastic. My knee still touches hard plastic here. So although there are some niceties around the place, but you really can't escape the utility of the cabin experience. That said, it's mostly comfortable, it's definitely functional, and it serves up mostly everything you need. So step into the back seat of the new D-Max and you can certainly see why these vehicles double as family cars. I'm sitting behind my own 175 centimeter driving position. As you can see, enough knee room, enough headroom, and you can pretty easily fit 3 across the back here in something approaching comfort, although you could get 2 adults in with no problem at all. Now elsewhere there are some creature comforts too. You get air vents but no temperature control. There's a new USB-C connection point and even a little coat hook as well.
The D-Max's powertrains for 2024 remain unchanged with the choice of a 1.9 litre turbo diesel, good for 110 kilowatts and 350 newton meters, or a 3 litre turbo diesel producing 140 kilowatts and 450 newton meters. They're both paired with either a 6-speed manual or 6-speed automatic and 2 or 4-wheel drive, depending on the model.
Now it's carryover engines for this 2024 Isuzu D-Max, giving you a choice of a 1.9 litre diesel or this 3 litre diesel with no sign of any electrification, at least not yet, but that's surely just around the corner. That said though, this engine, the 3 litre, is perfectly fit for purpose. There's plenty of torque, plenty of oomph whenever you put your foot down, and yeah, it can get a little loud in the cabin at times, but certainly forward momentum is no problem at all, even when towing.
Isuzu reckons you'll see around 8 litres per 100 kilometres on the combined cycle with the bigger engine fitted, with fuel use dropping to 6.9 litres per 100 kilometres with the 1.9 litre power plant in use. The 76 litre tank is the same for both engines, meaning a theoretical range of 950 kilometres or about 1100 kilometres.
Welcome then to the cabin of the new Isuzu D-Max, which I guess is kind of like a midlife update for the vehicle, given the fact that this 3rd generation car launched back in 2020. So certainly time for some kind of wholesale changes. And actually one of the things the brand says they've really focused on this time around is on fixing some complaints, which they're fairly open about, to be honest. They say they've taken feedback from their customers, from the media, from other people who've driven the cars, from their fleet customers, and they've kind of sent those complaints into the Japanese HQ, and they've actually been addressed, which is pretty handy. Now, apparently one of the biggest complaints was on the infotainment system, not having any actual dials or switches, so you couldn't quickly turn the volume up or down or tune it or anything like that. Instead, you were sort of poking at buttons to do it while on the road. So there's actually a new infotainment system for the D-Max. It's bigger, the resolution is actually really good, it works well. But I think one of the key things people are going to like about it is the fact that it reintroduces physical dials for the volume and radio tuning, which I know kind of like feels like we're taking a stepwards back in time. What in this world of kind of Scandinavian minimalist design and all that kind of stuff. But equally, if something works, it works, and a dial for volume works. Now it also gets Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, of course. There's twin USB-C connection points to keep your devices topped up, and it just helps the cabin here feel a lot more modern, which is a good thing too. I gotta say, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, it drives like a diesel-powered dual cab ute, and I don't necessarily mean that as a negative. The engine in this one, this is a 3-litre. It remains a peach. There's plenty of power underfoot. Yeah, it's a little bit noisy in the cabin, but it's a characteristic of an engine like this. And actually the steering is fairly nice as well, and surprisingly the body doesn't roll around too much under cornering, and nor do the tyres give too much complaints either. But it also doesn't serve up much in the way of surprises. It is a very competent, very comfortable drive experience, and frankly, if you're used to driving a diesel dual cab ute, then you'll pretty much know what to expect from this one. So it wouldn't be the launch of an updated diesel dual cab without one of these kind of manufactured off-road circuits to show you exactly what's new. And in this case, and in this car, what's new is called rough terrain mode. Now it already exists on the Isuzu MU-X, but it has now been added to four-wheel drive variants of the D-Max with this update. And basically the brand says is to answer complaints that the onboard traction control system didn't really work all that well off-road. It kind of got in the way of power delivery and wheel braking. So this is designed to fix it, and it works with all the traction systems, the individual wheel braking systems, to basically deliver the power in a smoother, more constant way and keep you moving over obstacles. And I know that that sounds like a little bit of marketing guff, and perhaps it is, but I have tested it now both on and off on the same course, and I can tell you there really is actually a noticeable difference. Far less wheel spin, it just sort of grips and goes a lot easier with the system engaged. So yes, there's some marketing buzzwords thrown in there, but it is a system that I think does in fact work and does make a difference. So Isuzu reckon they know their market, and they know that a lot of their owners take these cars off-road on adventures. In fact, they run adventure courses for their owners, adventure trips. And so this is just another example of a brand listening to some feedback and making some changes, which really they should be commended for. Now we've also done some fairly significant water crossings, some uphill and downhill descents, and of course the D-Max continues to do it all with ease, but that's because there really isn't too much change apart from that system. It always did do it, and it still does it.
Now, full credit to Isuzu for equipping the entire D-Max range with the best of its safety equipment, much of which has been overhauled for this generation. That starts with the new gen camera that scans the road for cars, pedestrians and cyclists with greater clarity. It also includes a charging plug for an aftermarket dash cam. There's also now updated lane keep assist, better programmed to center in the lane rather than bouncing from edge to edge bumper bowling style. There's rear cross traffic alert and brake and adaptive cruise control too. The fact that it's all standard from the entry-level SX is fantastic, and the D-Max range copped the full 5-star ANCAP rating when tested in 2020. The D-Max is covered by Isuzu's 6-year, 150,000 kilometre warranty, and while we like the years, we don't like the kilometre limits quite so much. There's 5 years of cap price servicing too, and you'll be visiting the service centre every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres, and each visit will cost you $449 for the first 5 years, or $2,245 in total.
So the new D-Max bundles together a whole bunch of small but important changes, all of which are designed to make the drive experience that little bit better, and of course to keep it fresh in the face of new competition from models like the Mitsubishi Triton, the Ford Ranger, and of course the incoming new HiLux. So has it done enough? Well, only time will tell. Now remember, to read my full review on this car and thousands of others, jump onto carsguide.com.au.